So always my recommendation, even for the comps, any of the questions of the comp number 2 or number 3, look into few dissertation, few articles, and complete this chart. You don't have to write a lot, just few words or sentences, and this will give you a good summary, good idea of this one. And baby, you have been doing this, right?
Yeah.
For the latest one, because he planned to change the he planned to use something else for the for a dissertation, the secondary data. So
Yeah.
he's looking one or two article or dissertation how people have used the secondary data in the
Mhm.
dissertation.
Mhm.
So just do few, I give a maximum 5, you can do few, and
Mhm.
that's the table. And just it will give you more visual representation of what you are planning to do.
Mhm.
All right, that's the plan before you start writing your comps or chapter 1. And Georgina has been doing this for many years. Okay, and then the next thing is outline for your chapter 1 of your dissertation. This is pretty much the standard outline for chapter 1. Problem statement, purpose, research question, framework, significance of the study, and the limitation, delimitation, and the definitions. In the entire chapter 1, I would say the standard length is somewhere 5 to 7 pages. Some of you happen to write longer, which is okay. I would be okay to receive, somewhere 5 to 7 pages on each subheadings. That's the total package for chapter 1. If needed, you can add later on. And baby, you have already completed that, right? We'll
Yes.
take a look in a minute.
Yeah.
So the next thing is very important here. What should I write in the introduction of the chapter 1? The starting line. So starting is important. Everyone pretty much read the first chapter, including your committee members, even the other readers once the project is finished. So I think this should be opening, something more inspiring, interesting. In fact, you are putting some background information around the topic. You are giving them a sort of framework why you are writing this one and what readers are understanding out of your work. So it's more, you know, glimpse of your work. And here is pretty much, the standard definition of the research problem or the introduction is the, problem or the issue that leads to the need for the study. So you are painting a picture of why readers should care your study. And this one can may come from an experience researchers have had in their personal lives or workplaces, or it may come from the extensive debate built from literature, the published articles. That's where I recommend you to start with a few articles to read and have more concise, more relevant, related information to list in your chapter 1. Then also, this is something interesting. The research problem is often confused with the research questions. So have these two different subheadings: the research problem and the research question. And how do you write the introduction? Here are a few tips. Write an opening sentence that will stimulate reader interest. How do you do that? Maybe you can use from a quotation relevant to your study, or a quotation from the interview data that may be sometime helpful. Or maybe you can start from the numeric information, such as here is the every year an estimate 5 million American experience the death of immediate family members. Those kind of number can strike the readers for the need of the topic. And then they clearly identify the research problem, the main issues that leads your study. So ask yourself the question like this: is there a specific sentence in which I convey the research problem? And how do you find all of these? There are also certain ways. That's why they said start with a dozen of references cited in the first page, meaning you don't have to list all 12 citation you know list a few authors there so that the readers feel that you have more connection with the previously published articles. And then again, the focus is having consistent approach across your chapter 1. That's the introduction. That's something you will be doing in your chapter 1, the very first background or introduction, which will go roughly 1 or 2 pages, not more than 3 pages. That's there. Okay. Any questions so far is here?
No.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Now, um, when we say in the introduction, just what you just went over,
Mm-hmm.
and say the context. You begin with giving the reader some context to your problem. That context, which is cited, you can give some quotation or some background. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of confusing sometimes. And then you're thinking about making it interesting as well as providing content. What does it really mean to give context? Are you,
Yes.
what does it really mean?
Mm. Question. Good question. Yeah. So let's take a look. The example from the work that Baby has done. Okay. So we'll take a look there.
Students have
All
taken.
right. Yes. Now back to Georgina's question, and we can start looking from the topic. And as you said earlier, this is a good topic, right? Perception,
Yes.
experience of doctoral student at HBCUs. Uh, really good. And this is your voice, your experience. This was the original plan, and yes, he spent a lot of time. He read the dissertation. In the last minute, he came with the idea of using secondary data. And when you do the secondary data, probably there might not be the surveys that captures the perception and experience of doctoral students. There may be some not as the way he originally planned, and that's the hard time. So be consistent with your plan. Do not change frequently. Take a look the introduction. That's what we said earlier. Some of the guidelines,
Patterns.
and he's giving. Read the first sentence. First
Yeah.
two sentences. Does it paint the picture as we said earlier?
Student patterns in higher education
Baby, can you read loud?
Oh yeah. Recent patterns in higher education in the United States have shown signs of steady and impressive growth for the future of HBCU doctoral students. In the last 2.5 decades, for example, African American doctoral enrollment in HBCUs has been growing at a faster rate, and the number of doctorate recipients currently stands at a historically high level, with African Americans receive 6.3% of all doctorates granted to American citizens, and most of those degrees from HBCUs. Doctoral education participants by minorities who are US citizens have also increased from 2009 to 2018. Hispanic particularly increased from 6% to 7%. African American participation increased from 2,168 to 2,145. But American Indian, Native American participants decreased from 132 to 115 and remain under 1% of total doctorate participants.
Thank you. So looking into earlier guidelines, yes, here are the citations, there are numbers, and there is the need, the pressure, why the topic is important. It convinced the reader, at least I'm convinced. And always a little thing will be there to add here, there. That's okay. Overall, I am convinced. What do you think, colleagues?
I, I, I'm convinced, and Bebe does I mean, he paints a good picture with the support of the data,
education.
and looking at the patterns, and particularly for minority students. And I'm already interested why, like that last sentence where he states that there's a decline,
Mm-hmm.
above among American Indian and Native Alaskan students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is probably the same style structure. Some of them can write 5 sentence or 3 sentence, whichever way Never recommended to write one sentence paragraph, have more than one sentences in any of these paragraphs. So this is good to start. And Pam, in your comprehensive exam, if you pull as many, citations and more synthesized, organized way, and you can improve, bring those material from the comp to your chapter one.
I see.
Copy and paste.
Okay.
No plagiarism for that.
Yes.
Okay, and here, probably you noticed the dates coming from 2007, and here 6 and then 1999. So that it may be different scenario. Committee may ask, there is a patterns. Okay, what is the patterns in last 10 years, 5 years? Is it still in the same boat that we used to be back in 2006? Right, that's the one area to improve. And here is, we stop here in 2018. So that, is there any changes in last 2 years? Now, particularly considering with the, COVID-19 pandemic and other things. So there may be a little ad, which is okay. And remember, this was turned in back, last year. So it was still current until last year. And when you publish this dissertation next year, it will be already 2021 or beginning of 2022. So we have to look into that time frame. And in the second and third paragraphs, it's a coherent, it's still good. The only fear here is, many dead people. That's one. And then here, the same issues here, the same citation. What else? And maybe tiny, errors like this, which is okay. And then he has given the example of some of the HBCUs and those who offer doctoral degrees. It's still consistent with his topic, the main topic that he's planning to work. And then he's, bringing the ideas of how the students go from coursework and to the dissertation writing, and then finishing and going to the professoriate, the post-career, post-study transition. The challenge, as you see across the pages, the document is the citation. Many of them are outdated, and some of the words are not recognized here. I don't know why, or maybe. But I am convinced, he has good amount of information here, given enough argument support. That's here. So let's take questions if you have. We are staying only on the introduction part. There are other many components, as we said earlier. That's the introduction here. And then right after the introduction, then there will be a sentence called problem statement. Problem statement, or that's the problem statement or introduction. That's what we call. Overview or introduction is the same thing. And then you are expected to write one sentence that tells the problem of the purpose of the study. And let's see his purpose of the study. It's a bit long, and look into the data, which is nice, right? It gives you more data, and right, we don't know what happens, what was in 2020, and still the source is missing. Small thing there. So what is the purpose of the study? As you see here, this is a little longer than 7 pages, which is okay. Problem statement. Oh, here it is.
No purpose. Okay.
Baby, would you like to read 2 sentences?
Yes, sure. The purpose of this study is the purpose of this quantitative cross-sectional survey research is to explore the perception and experiences of doctoral students at HBCU. Selected should not be there. The study with, sorry, I can't see over here, sir.
Okay, the study will investigate what students at HBCU institutions are learning in general education and research and scholarship, which kind of activities or program they are actively engaging in, the 21st century work skill they are preparing. The second part of the sentence is a bit complex. That's where revision is needed. That's where your committee member will provide inputs. So basically, in a way is looking into the perception and experience of doctoral students from selected historically Black college and university. That's the broad statement. Okay. Any questions? Any regarding the intro part? That's only we are focusing today.
Yes. You see, the first, the context, background, the very first paragraph of the introduction kind of flowed with the documentation of direction he was going. I think he was trying to show that there is constant growth in minorities going towards doctorate level, and this was shown across by the citations. And but I'm not sure whether I missed it or something. I was wondering, how did he leap from there to establish the issue before the statement of problem?
There are other sections already written because of the time and then focus. I didn't read all of them. I didn't
Okay,
want to touch
so
that, but that was there.
okay,